Yuichi, a high school student, works hard to earn enough money for a trip with his friends. At school, Makoto Shibi, Shiho Sawagari, Tenji Mikasa, and Yutori Kakagori are happy to congratulate Yuichi for his hard work. However, the 2 million for the trip ends up being stolen. Standing in front of the class, Shiho explains that she put the money in her locker, but it was stolen. The next day, she and Makoto stop coming to school, and other students start rumors that they may have stolen it. That night, Yuichi receives a letter from Shiho stating she wants to tell him something important and will be waiting at the school gate. Yuichi rushes to the school gate, only to find all of his friends there. Shiho scolds him for being late after calling all of them. She shows him the letter he sent her, stating for a moment that she thought it was a confession letter. Yuichi realizes they have been set up, but in that moment, Yuichi gets knocked out by a taser. They wake up in a white room, and a person dressed as a mascot, Manabu-kun, enters the room and greets them. Manabu tells them they will be playing a simple game with him, where each game they clear will result in getting 2 million yen and repaying their 20 million yen debt. Yuichi is shocked, but Manabu explains that one of them owns that debt. Shiho states that they should not try to figure out who is in debt, as they were likely in serious trouble and wanted help from their friends. In the classroom where their first game will begin, each will wear a tag that shows how much they are in debt. Their starting point is 4 million each, but they cannot show this amount to others, or it will be doubled. The game they play is fairly simple, Kokiri-san. Put your finger on the coin and point to yes or no. However, there is a catch. Unless it is unanimous, if there is a minority opinion, the coin will follow the minority. All they need is to win one round to advance. Manabu's advice is not to doubt your friends. Makoto reads the first question, is the tallest mountain in Japan Mount Fuji? But somebody betrays him and chooses no. The same goes for the next 2 rounds, Shiho and Tenji. This makes Yuichi remember if there was some sort of bust-up among them. Perhaps one time Makoto tried to steal a kiss from Shiho. When it is Yuichi's turn, he reads the question only to find it is of the reader's choice. But at the bottom, a catch states that the reader's debt will be divided if the answer is no. Yuichi realizes everyone must be looking out for themselves and betraying their own answer. Yuichi finds it tempting but has to think about Yutori. As she is the last person, all the debt will be dumped on her. He believes he must protect her and will answer yes to his own simple question. Yuichi then reads the question asking if there are 7 days in a week. He chooses yes, but the coin still moves to no. Yuichi wonders if someone is trying to dump all the debt to Yutori. This is when Yuichi realizes that the final question may be different. Game moderators Maria and Tsukino explain how it contains a simple yes or no question with no catch. So as Yutori reads, if they are friends or not, what will be everyone's pick? However, Yuichi breaks a rule by speaking up as he asks if they know Shiho's underwear color. Yuichi further reveals the traitor's plan to dump all the debt on Yutori. But now that he has spoken and doubled his debt, if they lose here, the traitor will be the biggest loser. He then claims he was just joking but reminds them that they're all still friends. And just like that, a unanimous yes as they clear the first game. As Manabu guides them to the next game, Yuichi claims to tie his shoelaces, but it is to look at everyone's card to see what debt conditions they have. However, he can't see anything, as the moderators use some ink that will vanish after some time. Shiho then talks to him alone to ask if he really suspects one of them as the traitor. He says yes, and the one he suspects the most is Shiho herself, because the Shiho she knows will not forgive the thief who stole the funds. She then apologizes for suspecting him first because he is poor, but her second confession shocks him because she really likes him. She also reveals her debt is much higher than before because it is still considered breaking the rule. She almost screamed her head off during the game. The next game on the rooftop is Sugiroku. Everyone rides on a card that badmouths a person. The viewers will then vote, and the one with the most votes advances the most squares. But the first person to reach the goal first will suffer a massive loss. The game is cleared, and each person gets 400 grand, but anyone left on the board in the end gets 1 million additional debts. That person also doesn't have to play the next round and can go home for a while. If they don't want to badmouth themselves, they can submit a blank card. If all are blanks, then all will advance 1 square. It seems like a good idea, but every time they land, they take on additional debt. So by the 3rd square, someone hands in a card that claims Shiho likes Yuichi and dates Tenji. This means Shiho is the only one who gets the votes, as she advances in many spaces. This leads to the start of the breakup of the friends as Tenji and Makoto almost fight over Shiho. Shiho is revealing her childhood friend relationship with Tenji as their parents are close together as one is a police officer and the other a prosecutor. They even talked about getting married. Hence, they pretended to date each other just to appease them. It could be all lies, but Tenji claims he likes Shiho too. With Tenji mocking Makoto for being dumb and jealous, it could have gotten ugly had not Yuichi stepped in to tell them not to do things to upset the girl they like. Yutori is looking jealous and Shiho is liked by all the guys. Next round, this time with 3 bad-mouthing cards. Shiho has the most votes with that plastic surgery comment. Makoto makes light of it, but Shiho doesn't share the same sentiments and wonders if he would have liked her or remained friends if that were true. The round only has one next card, but this time it states about Yutori doing compensation dating in middle school. This makes Yutori go into trauma mode. She accuses Shiho of betraying her, as she is the only one who knows, despite Shiho claiming she didn't rat her out. Because Makoto is unsure what that means and asks about it, Tenji punches him to shut up. He then has Yuichi accompany her and hear her out. Yutori begins talking about being bullied back then. The only way to stop the constant bullying was to give money. The irony is that money protected her. But to earn that, she realized the fastest way was through compensation dating, since she was physically well endowed. It all started with a friendly chat with an elderly guy. Slowly, one thing led to another. But before he could touch her, she ran away. She promised, and that's as far as she has gone and is still a virgin. Yutori fears Yuichi abandoning her and doesn't want to be alone. He replies that it is not the case whether he believes her or not. No matter what has happened in her past, he assures her that he will always be by her side. Because he casually forgave her, the moderators think Yuichi is impure and has something to hide. For now, Yutori doesn't want to be close to Shiho. Shiho talks to Tenji as she confirms saving Yutori from a bunch of punks from another school. A traumatized Yutori then told her situation. Shiho might not prod further and know the whole story, but he promised not to tell anyone. That's why she is upset that the only thing she will never do is break a promise to her friends. The moderators deliberate that there is somebody among the friends who isn't here to clear the debt but rather to ruin the friendship among them. Further flashbacks show Shiho put the money in her locker, locked it, and went to see the teacher. Makoto was busy trying to copy someone's homework, and Yuichi was asleep. Then bumped into Yutori, learning she was drawing her own manga and all, but that didn't matter because it was enough time for him to steal the money. And I'm sure you could have guessed the perpetrator now, who is none other than Tenji himself. He knows everything because of a bug he planted in Shiho's keychain, which he gave her. That's how he heard and knew everything. He can't wait to see Shiho's friendship break apart, and once she is all alone, the kind of reaction and words she'll say to him. Tenji revealed that he wrote many of the reveals on the cards so as to destroy Shiho's friendship. Because Yutori already doesn't trust her, now he is going to make sure to crush Shiho's trust in Yutori. First, he whispers to her that Yutori herself may have written that just to score sympathy points with Yuichi and make her look bad. As the game continues, Tenji goes first to write the card. But when he comes out, he sees Yuichi slapping Shiho because she asked Yutori if she wrote it herself. With both girls accusing each other, Shiho then reveals she didn't get plastic surgery. It was actually surgery to cover up a scar she got from an accident. Now that the girls' friendship is strained and Yutori is sticking to Yuichi, Tenji assures Shiho that he will believe her no matter what. The next round has only a single card that states Tenji is a year older. He admits to it and reveals about some failed transfers and this skipping an entire year. This is part of his plan to put more suspicion on Shiho since she is the only one who knows this, and it makes it look like she was the one who wrote this secret. Of course, Tenji continues to assure her that he still believes her, although he points out that she is increasingly becoming isolated. Shiho lands on a special chance spot in which she can pick anyone for a big reveal. When that selected person's dirty secret is revealed, the audience will then vote to believe it or not. The former will move many steps ahead. Tenji is worried because if the secret he stole to fund this game gets out, all his plans are for nothing. Shiho is about to pick Tenji because, as Manabu claims, if he is most innocent, there won't be any dark secrets, right? Fortunately for him, Makoto volunteers to be picked since he wants to make up for her. Shiho does that, as Makoto proudly assures him he has nothing to hide. And then Manabu reveals that his dad, a public prosecutor, is actually a sleazy scumbag. Photo evidence of him womanizing, having affairs and scandals, taking bribes, and even sexual abuse and harassment. Above all, he has been throwing money around to cover it all up. Makoto is shocked to hear this, but before Shiho can believe in him because it is his dad's doing and not his, Tenji warns her to stay away. He accuses Makoto of having something to hide and has done something like his dad to cover it up. Because, is it not strange that he volunteered for this? Even more so, why are students like them in debt? Because his dad's scandal may also have something to do with him. He wants everyone to stay away from him until this clears up. Makoto is in despair, but Tenji relishes that this is going better than he had expected. He will use this chance to finish off Makoto. In the next round, only a single card states Makoto has killed someone. This shocks Tenji because he didn't write that. He left his card blank to avoid suspicion since he had already stirred up so much trouble. Could this be Yuichi's doing? Oh, look at that evil, scheming face. As Makoto begs, he didn't do it, but nobody believes him. Even more so, he must show proof. Desperate but dumb, he claims he should have no problems in life because his dad takes care of everything. Well, then, 99% voted not to believe him. With that, Makoto springs into first place. Then Yuichi claims he knows who the traitor is but won't reveal it yet. Tenji thinks he is bluffing. Yuichi then knows a way to beat this game as he has discovered something. In order to make this show more interesting, the spaces at the start increase your debt, while those towards the end decrease it. This is to discourage moving in sync at first. In the end, it will be plus or minus 0. He suggests that everyone except Makoto write and badmouth themselves. The traitor will be revealed if he breaks that promise and badmouths on Makoto. It might not be the best method, but it should stop them from hurting each other anymore. Tenji disagrees because it would make more sense to reveal the traitor and then send that person to the third game alone. After writing down all their cards, it seems there are 10 cards. Somebody wrote and dumped multiple cards into the box. Tenji then tries to force him to say the name of the traitor. Yuichi then apologizes and claims he was just bluffing. With that, Tenji knows he has won, and nothing can stop him at his revenge. Finally, Shiho is back in first place and one space from winning the game. Yuichi then mentions he has another plan for the traitor to expose themselves. A way to send everyone except the traitor into the next game. Everybody needs to write their name on the card and state that they are the ones who applied to play this game. Because others will get penalized for lying, this means the traitor will not, and everyone else will reach the same space as Shiho. With that, only true friends will be left to play the next game. Yuichi lets Tenji write first since Shiho trusts him and needs to be assured. Tenji knows he has screwed up and will definitely be discovered. He thinks of putting up crocodile tears to admit it, but concocts a lie that he was blackmailed into this. After everyone has finished writing, it seems all other cards are blank and only Tenji has written on his. Tenji goes into acting mode, but he gets scared after seeing the demonic aura from Yuichi, who forces him to confess that he was the one who applied for this game. Yuichi already had a plan to smoke out the traitor before this game began. He made an alliance with Shiho first. He used cards to write secret messages to her, and that's how they communicated. To test whether she was the traitor or not, he told her to badmouth him using a secret they only knew. Since she obliged, he knew she couldn't be the traitor. Yuichi is trying to find the traitor via elimination. Next is Yutori, and he did the same thing and had her pretend to fight with Shiho. When it boiled down to Makoto or Tenji, it was pretty easy to figure out Tenji was the one because, during the special chance, Makoto volunteered himself. The traitor wouldn't have done that. The final confirmation for earning their trust is that Yuichi had them hold their name cards. They did so as not to be isolated, a tactic that shows how cults and pyramid schemes work. Tenji wonders if Yuichi has always suspected him since he is the last. Tenji's mistake was that he wasn't acting as himself. The Tenji he knows is smart and calm, but here he was trying to pick a fight with Makoto. After all, Makoto is the one who least knows their secrets. Nobody tells it to him since this idiot has a big mouth. There were also a few cards he wrote and badmouthed himself for just to protect his friends and his way of cheering them up. As the game still needs to be finished, no matter what, Shiho will still end up winning. He whispers something to Manabu, and immediately he ends the game and declares Yuichi the winner. It turns out Yuichi lied on one of the cards. The friends wonder why he is letting Tenji get away with this. Yuichi claims it is up to them to forgive Tenji as he can't judge him. That's why they will take this time off to talk things over. Yuichi hints that he has done worse things than Tenji. The card he lied was the one he wrote Makoto killed somebody. In fact, it was he who killed 3 people. Manabu thinks Yuichi will regret going into the next game alone because it is hell without friends. On the contrary, Yuichi believes his friends were his limiters. Without them, he can go all out. He doesn't bat an eyelid to announce he will crush this game and management in the next round. With the friends arguing about whether Yuichi really killed people, Yuichi tries to put them down, claiming he doesn't need friends and that they're a hindrance. Of course, this is the best way to protect them. But before he jumps into the next game, Tenji won't let him go alone and will go with him. In fact, he also lied. The card he wrote says he dated Shiho. He actually has no romantic feelings for her. He did all this to break up their friendship and keep someone to himself. And that person is Yuichi. To prove it, Tenji kisses Yuichi and then jumps down with him. Yuichi and Tenji find themselves in a prison cave. It seems they will have to wait here for 3 days before the next game starts. Tenji reveals that Kiss was just a ploy to follow him so he could tell the whole truth about why he betrayed them. Apparently this is Tenji's second game. When he was young, he had 2 best friends and they wanted to start a business together. Tenji had 1,000,000 yen in reserves to get it rolling. But when Shiho was introduced to the group, trouble started arising. The group had trouble managing their funds, and Tenji suspected his friends were falling for Shiho. One day, one of them suggested a challenge whereby whoever made the most profit would be the CEO of their company and get to propose to Shiho. Soon, they find themselves in debt and in this game. In the end, Tenji lost and paid off all the debt himself. When he was released after agreeing never to tell anyone what happened, he confronted his friends, who revealed they spent all their money on Shiho. Then he talked to his father as a last resort, but soon he was found dead by apparent suicide. Tenji was shocked because he went to see Shiho's father for a big case. He felt something was off, and whatever it was, Shiho was at the center of it all. Investigating her thoroughly didn't yield any results, so that's why he was forced to make his friends participate in this game to reveal her true colors. Tenji also reveals that Shiho is lying about her debt. After the second game, you should know the group's debt by asking Manabu. It now stands at 10.8 million, which is way off their 18.8 million deduction. So as they consider all the options and everything, it is highly probable that Shiho lied about hers. After what they've gone through, the game only makes them realize how much they are strangers. Tenji wants revenge on his dad, so Yuichi will fight with him. Yuichi still can't believe 100%, so Tenji shows his name card and risks increasing his own debt. He won't ask him to help but wants to fight for Yuichi, so feel free to use him as a tool. He is his last hope. Well, Yuichi has 3 days to think about it. After 3 days, the duo came out of their cave and into the jungle. Manabu announces the next game to be friendly, hide and seek. They will be facing off with another group. It looks like the smaller your group, the more disadvantages you will have. That's because one member will hide and the rest will be seekers. The game ends when the opponent's seeker finds you. Thus, it's a game you can't clear by yourself. There are also some other rules. The one to note is that a seeker can switch sides. If this leads to his team's victory, the traitor cannot advance but will transfer all his debt to the losers. Hence, the bigger the group, the higher the chances of betrayal. Of course, he can also switch back, but at that time, you know his pals are going to beat him down, right? Manabu adds a special rule for Yuichi's side. There is a sole player from another group who made it here, and they have a choice: accept this cute girl into their group. Despite Tenji's reservations about having a stranger on their team, Yuichi notes they will have a higher winning chance with another member. And that girl is Maria. It turns out she was sent in as a spy to keep tabs on Yuichi after the higher-ups learned about him. Also, there's a competition between Tsukino and Ryako to see which of their groups will come out on top. With Tenji and Juzu volunteering to hide, the third game has begun. After finding a place for Tenji to hide, Yuichi wants him to tough it out no matter what. Tenji believes in him and will do just that to regain his trust. But after 2 days, no word from Yuichi. Doubts are starting to form in Tenji's mind that Yuichi might have betrayed him just to get back at him for betraying his friends. Because a hider cannot move, and this means his teammates must bring him food, which is abundantly available in the Middle Forest's camp. Tenji is starting to starve and growing weak. Pressing the button is very tempting. Remembering that Manabu gave them a phone that can call anyone, Tenji calls Yuichi, but it is the enemy who picks it up. Tenji is told that Yuichi has switched sides, and all this is to get revenge on him. He has been doing nothing but eating and sleeping at the camp with Maria. If he so wishes to confirm it himself, he can pass the line to Yuichi. Tenji continues to put his trust in Yuichi because he will contact him if he is needed. Flashback: when the game started, Juzu told his comrades a sure way to win this game. Because of how huge this forest is, it doesn't matter how many men you have to look for the hider. It will still be hard to find. Hence, the strategy is that they will follow the opponent, who will bring food to the hider. Because right now, Yuichi and Maria are indeed waiting at the camp, and they can't move or risk revealing Tenji's position. If they remain stubborn, their hider will die or press the button. Either way, it works in their favor. By the third day, Tenji is glad Yuichi has come to him. Too bad he is so hungry that he is hallucinating. Ryako is in disbelief because Yuichi continues to hang about doing nothing and even revealing some secrets about his friends. She wonders if Yuichi really intends to abandon Tenji. Furthermore, Maria, who is supposed to act as a group member, continued to do nothing. Tsukino only received a single report, and that is, she warns Yuichi is even crazier than she thought. It looks like Yuichi has started to make his move. He wants to switch sides. Kei decides to call Juzu for advice. Yuichi laughs at them and mocks that they depend on a control freak to decide their next move. This makes Hayakutaru almost want to beat him up, but he is stopped by Chisato, who reminds him that using violence means their team automatically loses as per the rules. After Kei makes the call, he returns with Juzu's decision: don't let Yuichi join. Their strategy is already perfect, so stick to the plan. And if Yuichi insists on joining, make Maria also switch sides. Maria realizes Juzu is a sharp dude, but Yuichi has already taken this into consideration. Before the game started and he talked to her, he told her their plan was to hang out at the camp doing nothing, and on the third day he would switch sides. He also knew the other team knew this wasn't an ordinary hide-and-seek game because instead of choosing the smallest guy to hide, they chose the biggest one. Yuichi then wants to confirm if Maria will swear her absolute obedience to him. Well, as long as they win, she'll do it. Then he told her his next plan, which was inaudible but sounded crazy to her. Next morning, as Kei and Banri go to deliver food to Juzu, the rest stay back to watch Yuichi and Maria. Yuichi talks to Hyakutaru and finds him a good person. But when he asks why they are playing this game, Chisato switches with him before he reveals too much. Hyakutaru goes to watch Maria, but she is missing. Thinking she has run, he goes to find her, only to see her bathing in the stream. This makes him panic and all, so Chisato will switch with him again, but that is when Yuichi yells to Maria that he has found it and signals her to run. Both give chase until it is time for Yuichi to push Maria off the edge. Meanwhile, Tenji is this close to pushing the button. However, he realizes life won't change even if he does. His life will still be empty. After all, he decided to put his trust in him. He laments that he couldn't avenge his dad or apologize to his friends, but at least he didn't betray them in the end. Suddenly, he hears Yuichi calling to him. It's the real deal. Kenji is now replenished as he hears the story from Yuichi. Of course, Yuichi didn't tell him because he wanted to test him. Now that he has proven himself, Yuichi will trust him completely. Back to the strategy, Yuichi told Maria to be his distraction when the time came. But she didn't actually see herself being pushed off the edge. When that happened, Hyakutaru grabbed her hand. Chisato wanted to go after Yuichi but was forced to help Hyakutaru, who couldn't pull Maria up himself. After all, Hyakutaru mocked Chisato. He was always chasing skirts but couldn't save one when one was before him. You see, for the past few days, Yuichi has been observing their relationships and personalities. Hence, the thing or person he is trying to find is the kindest one. That person is Hyakutaru. He also noted Chisato reacting to everything Hyakutaru does. Seeing this, he knows Chisato is the kind who looks like he is interested in something but doesn't have depth in it. Because of his fake personality, he can't stand authentic people, and that's why he cannot turn down Hyakutaru. The final hurdle now that will assure their victory is to break their relationship. Maria is working her charms to say that she is thankful to the guys for saving her. After Yuichi returns to the camp, we see a huge argument breaking out between Hyakutaru and Chisato, because Hyakutaru wants to switch groups. We see Maria feeling indebted to Chisato and Hyakutaru for saving her life. When they return to camp, Yuichi is also there, so he starts acting like a crazy and asserts his dominance over Maria. When he gets rough with her, it is a clear act of violence, but as per the rules, it is only a violation if you commit it to the opponent's team. When Hyakutaru suggests Maria switch sides, Chisato throws caution that this might all be an act. This causes them to almost fight, as Kei breaks them up and will consult Juzu. It seems Juzu will not let Maria switch, but if Hyakutaru is so hell-bent on protecting her, he can switch. And now that Hyakutaru is on Yuichi's side, he is going to smack him good, but Yuichi is a better fighter and overwhelms him. For now, Hyakutaru is tied up as Yuichi calls Tenji to get an update on what happened. Maria warns Hyakutaru that Yuichi will do anything to get Juzu's hiding out of him since he has murdered before. Hyakutaru would love to snitch, but he doesn't know Juzu's hiding place. The shock on Yuichi's face. We see the real mastermind behind this group is actually Kei. So when Yuichi realizes this, he calls Kei. Kei believes victory is theirs because the time bomb, Hyakutaru, is on their side. This means Yuichi has to keep watch over him to prevent him from getting violent and can't move. With Yuichi falling into despair that he will definitely lose, this makes Maria disgusted. Yuichi has lost all confidence. Then, when she goes off herself, Kei confronts her and knows she is part of the management because, when she first arrived, he noticed there was no food ration for her portion and she looks well fed. Anyway, he wants her to betray Yuichi. She'll get to watch that sadistic Yuichi crumble in despair. Later, Maria calls Yuichi and wants him to reveal Tenji's hideout because she can take food to him while she is alone. Noticing that all the opponents are here, Yuichi does so. That is when Maria pops up and tells Kei the secret. Yuichi falls into despair, seeing that he has been betrayed. Tenji receives a call from Kei to cut ties with Yuichi before he does something inhumane. Tenji continues to believe in Yuichi when suddenly Kei shows up. All the players return to the camp for the announcement of this game's results. Manabu announces the winner of the third game, Friendly Hide and Seek, to be Yuichi's team. Although Kei found Tenji first, it was not the only way to win. A bit earlier, when the gang left to find Tenji, it was when Yuichi hatched his next plan. He was pretending to be in despair, so when he was alone with Hyakutaru, he called Juzu and wanted him to push the button. Juzu did not buy his bluff initially, even when Yuichi started punching Hyakutaru in the face. So when Yuichi threatened to break his fingers, Juzu was still hesitant, until he heard the sound of a broken bone. That was when he pressed. After all, Yuichi knew he was the one in debt and the reason they were playing this game. Juzu admits his family was in debt so badly that he had to quit school and start working. Even if all that is true, Juzu beats Yuichi for being a scumbag. To his shock, Hyakutaru's finger is okay. It was Yuichi who broke his own finger. Hyakutaru didn't say a thing because Yuichi promised to let Juzu beat him up as much as he wanted. With Yuichi's side winning the game, Kei cannot accept this result. He blames everyone for ruining his perfect plan. That is when Banri spanks him. This childhood friend tells him he lost because he didn't take this into account. Since there will be some time before the next game begins, the duo is allowed to return home but, of course, cannot tell others or run away. As they go back to school to confront Shiho, they see Yutori cleaning graffiti on her table. It seems Shiho and Makoto disappeared about a week ago. When they returned, the class accused Shiho of stealing the funds. Makoto tried to cover for her and claimed he was a rich kid and could recover that loss. It's a stupid move, but the worst was still to come. To get that money from his dad, he told him about the game. Right now there is an incident at Makoto's house. His dad has been murdered. A bloodied but shocked Makoto is taken away, claiming he didn't do it. The one arresting him is Shiho's dad. He warns Yuichi to stay out of this if he knows what's best for him. But Yuichi is not cowed and dares him to come directly at him. Later, when Yutori confronts Yuichi and Tenji for being too close now, Yuichi snaps at her and says that he is done with her. He calls her a deadweight and says that she can't think for herself, which is why she does what others tell her. It's a cruel way to sever their friendship, but we all know it's not to put her in danger for the next game. As long as they can convince management to transfer her debts to them, it'll be okay. Suddenly, Tenji gets an unknown call. This guy claims a special game will start soon, and it's only for Yuichi. Yutori has been kidnapped. If he shows up, he will suffer greatly. Otherwise, it will be Yutori who suffers most. Yuichi warns him that if he does anything to Yutori, he'll kill him. Yuichi meets Kuroki and his gangsters. Kuroki asserts that he has full authority here, and this limits Yuichi's options to act or do anything rash that will put her in danger. Kuroki explains that they will play 3 games of pain. Only Yutori gets to decide who gets to feel the pain. If she chooses herself, she'll experience it, but if she picks Yuichi, he will experience it 3 times worse. If he talks or she doesn't make a decision, Yuichi gets it by default. The first game is who is going to get punched by this strong gorilla guy. Since Yutori is scared and confused, Yuichi takes 3 bone-breaking punches. Next, will Yutori allow a single fingernail to be torn off? Scared of what to do, Yuichi hints at offering himself, and so he gets 3 fingernails peeled off. The final game is for Yutori to strip and everyone to molest her, but since nobody wants to see a naked guy, Kuroki will stab his hand 3 times instead. Yutori is so scared that she lets him decide. And so Yuichi gets the brutal stabbing 3 times. With the game over, Yuichi assures Yutori that she was never at fault and that she was just the victim. Yuichi suggests Kuroki play a game with him. Just a single round of rock, scissors, and paper, and if Kuroki wins, he'll get 10 million yen. If he loses, his fingers get chopped off depending on which he puts out. Kuroki doesn't believe he has that money, but Yuichi says if he claims he knows him, then he should know that amount is just a small change. Plus, Yuichi will give each of his men 1 million yen if he wins. Now that they're egging their boss to win, they can't chicken out now. Because of Yuichi's injured and bandaged hand, his options are limited to what he can put out. But this is where the mind games begin, as Kuroki wonders if he is going to play that hand or just trolling. With Yuichi pressuring to get the game rolling, eventually Kuroki does paper, and what's this? Yuichi using his other hand to put scissors. Kuroki cries foul, but clearly he wasn't paying attention, and Yuichi didn't say he could use the other hand. Kuroki orders his men to beat him up, but that's when the management barges in to arrest all of them for this illegal impersonation. Imagine how strong Tsukino is when a single kick knocks out that gorilla guy. Before Yuichi left for this place, he had a bad feeling, so he told Tenji to contact the management. Thank goodness he managed to get them here in time. Yuichi will still have Kuroki pay his dues, as he is going to cut all his fingers. He can choose which one to go to first. However, if one of his men swapped for him, they would only lose a finger. Kuroki feels relieved and wants somebody to switch, but nobody does it. Thanks to Yuichi passing out, I guess Kuroki is saved. But Tsukino points out that he lost more than that. Yuichi showed everyone he was stupid, had no guts, and above all, had no loyalty. Even his men now don't think much of him. Yuichi is given first-class treatment because he is an important product for the game. So you bet management wants him in tip-top condition for the next one. However, it looks like he is too weak to participate in the next one. Speaking of which, Makoto is now in prison, and the next game might have a chance to set him free or undertake a 500 million debt that his dead dad left him. Yuichi tells them to do it since friends are more important than money. Tenji and Yutori take up the next game as Manabu, the judge, begins to preside over the next game of Friendship Guilt Court. The anime ends here. Thank you for watching till the end, and please don't forget to subscribe.